I want excellence. Anyone can be excellent. Excellent is, whatever, shooting one half court shot and getting in and winning the game, right? That's excellent. Excellence is doing something either 100% of the time or 96%, whatever percentage of the time is maximally doable. Excellence is the repeatability and the consistency. So rather than accountability and pressure, I just try to unlock in someone what makes you feel good, what makes you feel satisfied.
Welcome to the Prosper Brief, the show dedicated to elevating the future of the food service and hospitality industry. I am your host, Jeremiah Wynn, Content and Marketing Manager at Prosper, and today we have a very special episode for you guys. We're going to be exploring how to build engagement and inspire excellence in teams. Joining me are three incredible leaders. Our first leader is Dustin Portillo, a dynamic hospitality keynote speaker with experience managing over 60 McDonald's franchises. Second, we have Dan Simons, founder and co-owner of Farmers Restaurant Group, known for cultivating strong workplace culture. And lastly, we have Ekundayo Platt, front of house manager at Farmers Restaurant Group. He brings firsthand insight into the frontline leadership. Today, we're going to be discussing practical strategies to motivate teams, scale culture of excellence, and create workplaces where employees thrive. Let's dive in. Attention emerging leaders in food service and hospitality. Are you ready to accelerate your career? If so, join us for the Accelerate Conference on October 22nd through the 24th at the Omni Hotel in Dallas, Texas. Gain insights from over 1,000 collective years of business and leadership experience. Engage in more than 30 focused breakout sessions. Be inspired by 5 empowering general sessions featuring industry experts. Don't miss this opportunity to build valuable connections and elevate your leadership talent to give your business the competitive edge it deserves. Register today at prosperaccelerate.com. It's so nice to have you all here. As we get started, I have to ask you guys this first question. What are some of the things you do to inspire your teams in the morning?
So our big thing here is about all-way communication and being aligned. And so we basically will do a pre-shift in the morning. We have staggered end times for the staff, but we have about 3 staff members who come in at 6:30 a.m. And we actually get a weekly communication through our website that we have for employees that gives you a pre-shift topic, kind of reminding you like the guest is the focus. And we try to inspire them with we do competitions. We might do a chocolate sales contest. We might have a fish of the day, have the chef prepare a fish of the day. And hey, we'll give a $50 reward to anybody who can sell the most fish of the day. So just try to get their brains working. It's early in the morning. Try to get them thinking about the food, thinking about how they can wow our guests.
Eki, that's such a great way to get your team inspired in the morning through competition. That's how I inspire my daughter to clean up, so I'm sure it works for adults. Dan, how do you do this at the executive level?
For me, really, whether it's mornings, because, morning means something different to everybody. Some people, it might be the first meeting in the morning, but they've been up since 5 a.m. and they've been in the gym. Other people, it might be a 9 a.m. meeting and that's their first time they've turned on their voice or their brain for the day. So first is I make no assumptions about anybody, right? And I got to meet people where they are. But certainly, I'm an eye contact guy. And I think, especially if it's someone's first thing and it's morning and people are a little bit more inclined to keep a low profile, they're not kind of ramped up and amped up yet, I look to really connect with whomever I'm meeting with on our team, making sure I'm really looking people in the eye, because it takes some real cognitive neuro work to meet eye contact and to engage with another person. And it's also actually sort of hard to avoid the eye contact. So for me, that's how I make sure that I'm really connecting early in my day with people.
Dan, I know that you're the CEO, but for someone like me, just knowing that the boss of my company, my manager, my CEO is looking me in the eye, it does make me feel seen. So I could see how that can definitely inspire your team just to work harder, because they know they're not working for themselves, but they're playing for the whole team. That's such a great point. Dustin, what about you? What kind of strategies do you have in the morning?
To start the day off on the right foot, I think everyone should be starting off with gratitude. And when I was helping in the community relations, we had 60 McDonald's restaurants throughout Tampa Bay and Jacksonville, which was a 4-hour stretch. from Jacksonville to Tampa. And so everyone, as what Dan said, operates a little bit differently. Everyone kind of does their own thing, but it's crucial that everyone start off at the very beginning of the day with a mindset refresh. And we would always implement that in our restaurants to our shift manager or to the breakfast manager to get everyone thinking positive to start the day. Because when people are in the right mindset and they're thinking positive and they have positive thoughts about themselves, that spills over across the counter inevitably. And it's going to infect everyone around you. Everyone kind of has their own energy frequency, and you attract people into your orbit who are like-minded. And whenever everyone is running on the same cylinders, then we can have those fresh interactions with coworkers and with customers. That starts everyone off on the right foot. So mindset is key to starting the day off on the right foot.
Okay, so we've started off the day, whether it be through competition or through direct eye contact. So now my question is, how do we encourage and motivate teams to take pride and ownership in their roles that they're playing in our companies?
I always start with helping people take pride and ownership of themselves. I was never a fan when I was an employee. I came up in the business, bar back, busser, bartender, manager. And I often heard companies, tell us they wanted us to act like owners. I thought, well, you don't treat us like owners. We don't get paid like owners. You don't engage with us like owners. We're not involved like owners. Why? Why? And it just seemed like such a ridiculous thing to say, considering there was no other context for it. And so I'm always looking to help people, engage with themselves. Like, where are you? I'm not going to ask you to be proud at work if you're not proud on your way into work. I'm not going to ask you to put a fake smile on your face if you aren't smiling. So I like to start with the whole person first. In our company at Founding Farmers, we believe that we hire the whole person. We engage the whole person, we hire the whole person, and that whole person arrives at work every day. And most of the time when someone is struggling to, find pride or satisfaction or achieve excellence, it's really not the work. We're not doing the most complicated. Our restaurants are complicated, but when you compare it to all the complicated jobs and tasks out there, so there is so much that someone can be proud of and inspired just about themselves. But oftentimes people need help to find that, to see that, to see in the mirror maybe what we see in them. So that's the approach that I take.
Wow, to see in the mirror what we see in them. That is so great. Having leaders that see beyond what we can see and they can pull us up to new levels, that is so impactful. Eku, so you work with Dan, you're on the management level. How do you feel like this resonates with you, and how do you feel this culturally?
So being at the management level, it's incredible because our jobs, they can get really stressful sometimes. So it's nice to work in an environment where you know that you're going to be heard. We even have a great tool to hear management level, server level, any level in the company. It's called the Council on Culture. And so that's basically a quarterly meeting that we do. So we'll meet about 2 to 3 months, every 2 to 3 months out of the year. And we invite staff members from back of the house, front of the house, all levels within Farmers Restaurant Group. And we just sit, we talk about our struggles in the restaurant, what it's like coming from our different backgrounds and cultures. And we just bounce ideas off of each other, how we can encourage inclusion, make people feel special. And then most importantly, how we can inspire the new employees to want to do their best job and kind of rise in the company.
Well, I really like to hear when companies give voices to everybody so that everybody feels seen, everybody feels heard, and that makes you guys feel so much more tight knit as a company. So that is so great to hear. Dustin, I have a question for you. How can leaders foster a sense of creativity and purpose in their teams, enhancing customer service and employee satisfaction?
Well, it really starts with people taking initiatives. And I really love what everyone is saying about empowering people. And, people, whenever they go into the work environment, and first of all, work to me just sounds horrible. I have to go to work. Well, you don't have to do anything. You get to go to work. So I think whenever we empower our people to take initiative, to be creative, to make work fun, to go to your why, go to your purpose, and just own it. A lot about what I talk about in my speaking business, whenever I go into organizations, it's all about mindset and all about making a fun experience. And we keep on hearing the employee experience equals the customer experience. And we're a people first culture. And while we throw around all of these things and they're all fantastic and they're great jargon, we have to really dig deep into what those truly mean for our organization. And if companies are hiring people that don't align with the company's mission and values, there will ultimately be a misalignment. And that's when your turnover will increase, your customer satisfaction will go down, and your sales will plummet because people are choosing to go to brands, as what Dan said earlier, being authentic, living authentically. And that's another word that everyone's kind of throwing around nowadays. But I firmly believe that whenever companies can align with who they are and they begin to attract the right employee, then everyone wins. From the turnover dropping to sales increasing to customer loyalty, customer experience, customer satisfaction skyrocketing because people are choosing to come to those brands where the employees are empowered. They have that emotional connection to their why. And when I worked at the McDonald's franchise, there was a couple of ladies in our department who had kind of lost their spark. They had been with the organization for 25 and 19 years. And so one day I said, listen, we need to have some sort of a come to Jesus moment where you all need to figure out, because I keep on hearing you say, I just want to keep on driving. And to any organization, that is a kiss of death. When your people just say, I want to keep on driving, I don't want to go to work. So let's bring it back to the basics. In the circus, we used to say, keep it simple, stupid. Make the clown routines as simple as possible so it is relatable to everyone out there. So let's keep it simple. Let's stream processes, procedures, and let's have you own it. So now you are emotionally connected to the outcome. And when everything happens, that's when the magic truly begins to shift within organizations.
I really like that. Eku, for you, same question. How do you foster a sense of creativity in your teams?
So that's an interesting one. So the creativity piece, I mean, all of our food is creative. And so the big thing that we've started doing lately is we will do a different fish of the day, a new recipe for fish of the day for every season. So it's different little creative takes, different ingredients that we use depending on the season. And so a big part of getting the staff engaged and excited about it is cooking that for them, going over all the ingredients. Taste it. What do you think about it? What tasting notes do you notice? So we just try to incorporate food, and a lot of our dishes, especially with our pastas, they've got a lot of hidden ingredients that the guests won't necessarily see. So it's just letting them know every detail of a dish so they can kind of increase their depth of knowledge and use that when they go to the table side. And, you like a little spice? There's a little hint of red pepper in there just to get your taste buds going at the table so they can upsell and do what they need to do.
Do you feel like having these new seasonal recipes, it keeps enthusiasm amongst your team?
Absolutely. I've been here for 8 years, and a lot of the times we'll rotate the winter sides and the fall sides, but it was typically the same recipes. Adding the fish makes it feel a little more elevated. It's like we want to be a restaurant for the common person, but being in DC, it's very competitive. So you've got to add that extra little bit of flair. And the staff seeing that is like, oh, okay, we're stepping our game up. And it kind of wants everybody to want to raise their level, the cooks, the servers, and management as well.
Yeah, that extra flair, it does so much. I know for me, I'm guilty of procrastinating whenever things are too mundane or things are too stale. So yeah, when you are constantly elevating your work and you're constantly elevating what you do and raising the bar, like I can see how that can encourage your team to just do better. Dan, I have a question for you. What practical tactics can be used to create a culture of engagement and buy-in at all levels?
The message of your contribution will get recognized and utilized, and then walking that talk, I start there rather than saying, you know, I want people's ideas. I want you to, connect and care and to be creative or come up with suggestions. I usually start with stories and examples of, hey, you guys, you see this system right here? The reason we run Expo this way, or the reason that this fish recipe has this topping, the reason we cut this way, like let's pick a thing. I can tell you where that I can tell you what employee that started with, what chef created it, what training manager came up with the idea, what server made the recommendation. And so we have, when I say literally thousands of these stories, we opened the first Founding Farmers in 2008, and we'll be opening our 8th location next month. When I look around the restaurants, I have all these examples like, oh, see that artwork on the wall? The artist who painted that was a bartender for us. So when people see that the work of others who look like them, who carry their business card, who are currently at the same sort of station in life that they're at, when they see that their suggestion, their contribution, their idea, their work gets permanently woven into the company, then you ask people, hey, who's got an idea for this? We like opportunities to level up, or we're trying to accomplish this goal. Here's the outcome we want. How did you guys think that we get there? It doesn't fall on deaf ears because people know that, as Eku said, they'll be not only heard, but their suggestions will be incorporated. So that's where I start. I think the catalyst is evidence of inclusion, and then an ask for engagement. And it's interesting that, right now, politically, societally, there's, let's just call it, the pendulum is swinging against, like one of the words the pendulum is swinging against is inclusion, right? Because it's in this DEI acronym that a lot of people don't even know what it stands for. And I understand why the pendulum is swinging that way. A lot of these initiatives are check the box initiatives. They're acronym based initiatives. They're, because we should. And if you want to run the best possible company, of course, you want your people to not just feel included, but you want the byproduct and the outcome of people feeling included. To do that, I don't think you talk about inclusion. I think you show evidence of the results of inclusion. And then people look at that and they're like, oh, hell yeah, I'm in. Of course I belong here. I feel seen, I feel welcome, because that other guy, that other gal is connected. So for me, I kind of go back to that root, and that's how I lead to engagement.
Wow, Dan, that is so great. Like just when the evidence is there and it's rooted in the foundation, you don't have to fight to prove anything. You don't have to make any drastic shifts. It's already ingrained in the culture. That's awesome. I want to switch gears a bit. Eku, I have a question for you. Do you know of, or have you seen any employees that you've had who have had imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you encourage them and motivate them to see beyond that?
Oh, that's a good one. I actually do. So I ran our to go operations for the last 1 or 2 years. And one of the big company initiatives that we've had is our standards are 100%, which means no errors, there's just no room to forget even the smallest side of ketchup. Um, so when we're holding people accountable, we have to ask, just like Dustin was saying, have we given them the processes, the procedures, and the strategies to be 100% successful? And so a lot of times I have to go and ask myself, have I been doing everything I need to do? And so we had quite a few ring errors before we started this, or not ring errors, but to go packing errors before we started this initiative. Um, and so I basically have to look in the mirror and say, first, I failed you guys. And then what I did, I went ahead and made a written guide, which is basically a blind test where we could ring in items to make sure everybody was packing everything correctly. And basically, what we'll do, we'll ring in the items under a fake name and have the our to go person package it. And after we get a chance, when the shift slows down, we'll kind of bring them in the office and go over everything that was supposed to be packaged. Hey, you're missing a jam here. You're missing a butter here. And the response was great. They apologize if they made a mistake. We do have a couple employees who were just 100% spot on, but it's an empowering moment for those who see that we actually care. We care about the guest experience, especially with to go. We can't recover them on the spot. We have to wait for the feedback to come in and then reach out. And it's great for them to see like, oh, these people actually care about what we're doing here. And so it's been great. It was a great response.
Thank you. That's really great because not only did you hold them accountable, but you held yourself accountable as well. Dan, can you speak to the culture of accountability that you guys have in your organization?
So I think there's a recipe here. I'm not a pressure, threatening, highlight the failure, make people feel bad about those things that they failed at. That isn't my leadership style. Primarily because I just don't think it works. I could do it. I try to hold myself accountable that my own leadership style is not a reaction, it's a choice. And I'm just looking for what works for people. And everyone's a little different. Some people do want a little bit more force. Other people want it softer. But in general, I find that people do what makes them feel good. So if I want people to, let's just say, be 100% with to-go packing, which, by the way, is absolutely achievable, is binary. It's ones and zeros. There's nothing subjective about it. So it can be perfect all the time. Absolutely achievable. It's not like shooting free throws, right? It is like, do you put the round peg in the round hole 100% of the time? Is doable. You got to have the systems for that. You have to train to 100% performance. You need measurements of success. But the variable that I focus on is if achieving 100% doesn't make the employee feel good, they're not going to do that consistently. So I work at an executive level, look, it's a restaurant. So yeah, we've got 1,500 employees and I work at the executive level. And I'm working with bussers and I'm working with landlords and I'm working with farmers. So for me, it's really the same at all levels. I want excellence. Anyone can be excellent. Excellent is, whatever, shooting one half court shot and getting in and winning the game, right? That's excellent. Excellence is doing something either 100% of the time or 96%, whatever percentage of the time is maximally doable. Excellence is the repeatability and the consistency. So rather than accountability and pressure, I just try to unlock in someone what makes you feel good? What makes you feel satisfied? What do you want to achieve? And so do you feel good when you give kindness? Do you feel good when you earn a reward? Do you feel good when you give a reward? Do you feel like what? Do you feel good when you make more money? Like, what is your thing? Do you feel good when someone is rude to you and you're unflappable? And you've shown that you have a real gap between stimulus and response, and you know how to choose your actions. Okay, so if I'll make this list of like, hey, look, here's a whole bunch of possible things that could make you feel good. Do any of these resonate with you? And people always like, oh yeah, okay, like this does make me feel good. I don't care about this. This makes me feel good. Great. Now let's look at the system that we're trying to administer. Like Echo was saying, perfection with to go. And I connect what makes them feel good about that outcome. And then if we've done the training and we have the systems and we magnify the aspect of the outcome that makes them feel good, then they get it. And some people do some people want to play for Bill Belichick, right? Some people, it does make them feel good to sort of like take the beating, be punished, so that when they accomplish the result and they get even a tiny bit of praise from that boss, well, okay. So for those people, be that boss. So I think it is excellence is an individual sport and leadership is an individual sport. You got to put those two things together and really customize it.
Yeah, Dan, first of all, I absolutely love it. I think what you said was so spot on. And, two things. Obviously, you are customizing the employee experience, right? It isn't the one size fits all. People feel like you are pouring into them, and it's coming from a place of authenticity, which people can pretty much within 20 seconds say, yeah, you are blowing smoke. So for you to be able to customize your people and to make them know that you value them and that they are worthy of abundance and prosperity and success is just fantastic. And second of all, throughout every level of an organization, anyone can achieve that excellence, as Dan was talking about. I call that the top 15% of an organization. People think the top 15% is someone who is making six figures, driving a Bugatti, and is the vice president. And that just simply is not the case. The top 15% of organizations are comprised of people in every level, from the person who's cleaning the lobby to the person who's making the fries or cooking the fish to the executive who knows their worth and value. And so if you can get that remaining 85% on board, that is a win-win for everyone, because people want to know that they're a part of something bigger and that the company truly cares about them and their success.
Yeah, we actually have a motto at our restaurant that no guest leaves unhappy. And this, just if I can share a quick story. Yeah, we had a gentleman that came in. He had an absolutely horrible dining experience from the wait time. The food quality was good, but it was just the service was just lackluster. Um, we have a cool little technology advantage. So anytime a guest leaves a negative feedback on our toast device, we automatically get an email. So what we've been doing on our management team, we beeline to the table to try to get them before they leave. And so that happened with this guest. I went over, him and his wife were leaving. I gave him a box of our chocolates, a bottle of our distilled bourbon, and then I gave him what we call as be our guest card. It was for $100, so it would cover their next experience if they did choose to dine with us again. And funny story, last night, the gentleman actually came back. And he was just thanking me. Thank you so much for the way you took care of us. We wanted to give you guys another shot. Had an amazing experience with this server that we had on the floor that night. So it was great to kind of see that, you can win people over and they'll give you another shot. And now we're like a brand that they respect and they probably will return to. So
that is such a great story of hearing the feedback from an unhappy customer, getting them to give you a second chance, and then when that second chance happens, giving them an amazing experience. That is great, and it's such a win for the company. Dan, at the executive level, do you listen to feedback? And if so, how do you know when to make changes and when to implement different things based off of that feedback?
I definitely listen to the customer, and I definitely don't listen to the customer. It really depends. There are things that the guests tell us, and their information is like gold, like, wow, eye-opening. And there are things that the guests tell us, like, for example, people will say to me, you should have a lower calorie dessert, or and like, no, we shouldn't, because no one will buy it. And so people don't always, I think the guest says what they mean. They mean those words, but it doesn't mean that the guest actually understands their own actions or what's going to change their behavior. So I'm cautious about taking certain types of guidance from the guest. And then when a guest tells me how they feel, I am really listening, because it's the way the guest feels that I feel responsible for. And we have a whole bunch of ways that the guests can communicate. It is one of the things I love about technology now. I hear a lot of restaurateurs complain about Yelp and review sites, whatever. I think it's fantastic. Not every guest wants to ask for a manager and tell them that things weren't good. We should be more elevated, I hope, in our restaurants. We don't just stop by every table and say, "How are you?" I'm not a fan of that approach. I think we should be visible and engaged, and we should know how the guest is. We should create that open dialogue so they can tell us. But I love reading the review sites. I love looking at that. Sometimes people just don't want to make a scene. They don't want to tell you them. They're conflict averse. People complain about Yelp, for example, but you know that the actual overall average star rating on Yelp across all industries is 4 stars. So people say, oh, people just post when they're angry, and people just, no, they don't. I don't think we should make excuses. When we get criticized, we don't always have to respond. We don't have to correct someone. We don't have to decide if they're right or wrong. It's their feelings. Didn't like the way it tasted. We should study it. Maybe we made it wrong. Maybe we should cook it differently. They didn't like the service. Maybe the service technically was great, but they didn't like the vibe of the server. And then what you dig in is that, you know what? Yeah, well, the server, they were on their 6th day and they were working a double. So we want to defend the server. No, the server was great. The service was fine. But the truth is that the guest picked up on that the server was exhausted. And the guest didn't like that, the way that vibe kind of manifested into the lack of service, or just that the server wasn't thrilled for them. So I love the digital comms. I love the in-person comms. I try to filter out the emotion. When I read a review and it says like, we're the restaurant, they're dumb and they suck and they whatever, I sort of pull the language through a filter. I pull out all of the guests' emotion and adjectives, and I look for the catalyst. What went wrong? And it's usually at the beginning of the experience. They had a reservation for 7 and we didn't see them until 7:20. So after that, the fact that they said that the soup wasn't hot and the service wasn't good and the place wasn't clean, and it's like, you know what? They don't mean any of that. What they mean is, yo, you screwed me on my reservation. And now I saw the whole rest of my experience through the lens of, I'm pissed. And you know what? Rightly so. So I think that there's a lot to learn from the guest, but you can't let them run your company.
Wow, there's a lot to learn from the guests, but you cannot let them run your company. That is such a great perspective, and that shows the discernment that you're leading with. So I commend you for that. So we have one last question for all of you guys, and we can just start with Dustin, and just you guys can all just jump in. This last question is, what are some actionable strategies to affect cultural change?
Well, it starts up at the top. And if you're high level, I mean, if you're with a small organization or if you're with a large one, if the top are not aligned with the missions and strategies of what the organization is, and they have their own personal agenda, it might be time to rethink who those people are up there. I think that a lot of organizations need to empower their folks more and more and more, and give them the autonomy to be great. Quit holding them back. Quit chaining them. They are human beings, and you've hired them for a purpose. And hopefully, you've hired, first of all, the right kind of employee. And then you can just let them go. One of the worst things that organizations do is they bring people in and then they do a switcheroo. It's like this magic trick. They do a switcheroo on them, and then the people feel like they've been played. Give them the autonomy to do good work, and I guarantee you they will surprise you 9 times out of 10 by how damn phenomenal they are.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So definitely, I think a big thing is us being vulnerable in our leadership positions, that we can make mistakes. We're not perfect. And actually acknowledging that in a group setting, so everybody can say, okay, he knows he messed up on this or didn't train us correctly for this. One unique thing we do here is all of our managers here with our different work groups, we send a weekly communication, almost like a newsletter, to kind of congratulate the people that are doing great. We don't necessarily single out people that are struggling with maybe their tip average or with their reviews, but we just let them know, like, hey, this week we're going to focus on this part of our brand standard. This week we're going to work on upselling, or just giving them little strategies to let them know, hey, we're watching, we care. And at the end of the day, as long as you're sticking to our goal, which is making the guests feel great, giving value, and having a desirable environment, you can put your own little flair on it. We have attire guidelines that lets you wear. There's about 6 or 7 different patterns and colors of shirts that you can wear. So bring your own style to the restaurant. And just as long as you're putting the guests first, you're going to do great.
Well, you probably hear sort of a common theme from me, which is whatever the topic is, it's about the whole person. People are amazing, capable of accomplishing amazing things. And I believe it's the job of the leadership at the top of the company to identify what's preventing people from being excellent, right? And you can give leaders credit for the good things about their company. You certainly got to give leaders the blame for the shortcomings in their company. And that mindset at the top, when there's something in our company that I don't like, is bothering me, we're falling short, I'm annoyed by it, I'm frustrated by it, I pick up my mirror and I look in it and I realize I'm the problem. The motivating part is I also believe I'm the solution. The solution is, what's holding my people back? Why can't we accomplish this? Or what's my shortcoming? Do I not have the knowledge? Am I not in the right place at the right time? Working on the right thing. Like, I want a certain outcome, but I'm not actually putting in the grind on that thing. I just want it to magically happen, or I magically expect everyone. So, when leaders talk about excellence, frankly, when leaders talk about strategy and goals, I think it's kind of a waste of time, because any moron can have a strategy. Any moron can have a vision. You've got people all over the world saying, like, oh, I'm going to be a pro athlete one day. I'm going to be in the Olympics one day. I'm going to build a successful company one day. Any absolute fool can have a vision and a dream. The magic is in the habits and the process, right? And doing the grind over and over and over and over, regardless of the weather, regardless of today's frustration, have nothing to do with whether or not I should do the thing that I know is brick by brick by brick by brick that's going to build the wall that I'm proud of. So I think as leaders, we can forget that sometimes. And we think it's our job to just paint the picture of what the vision is or what the future is. And I think that's a tiny percentage of our job. I think more often when our companies are falling short is because we're not engaging side by side to help people develop the right habits, routines, and processes, and to align their personal purpose with the company purpose. When you get that, at least some overlap with personal purpose and company purpose, and you talk to people about the work on the daily, 365 days later, the vast majority of people are still there because it's connected to their own purpose. And you're going to be hitting your goals and visions because you didn't talk about the goals and the visions 365 days. You talked about the work it took to accomplish them. So this is my view of leaders need to see it through this lens, keep ourselves really close to the action.
Dan, Eku, Dustin, this has been such an insightful conversation on leadership, engagement, and building a culture of excellence. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your practical strategies for inspiring teams at every level. To our listeners, we hope you found valuable takeaways to apply in your own organizations. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to the Prosper Brief on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on LinkedIn for more industry insights. We'll see you next time here on the Prosper Brief.